not thrilled. I guess I should say not thrilled with the fact that I am 2 minutes late this morning, which means there's less time to get into what the Arizona Cardinals need to do. So with that being said, I will see you guys in a little bit. It's an NFL free agent frenzy edition of the Ben Garcia Show. I'll talk to you guys in just a second.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. So good to be here on a Monday. I'm so sorry, guys. Something has seriously came up once a week. It feels like where these streams can't happen. A few weeks ago, it was something else. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. There was a different thing. Last week, there was the fact that I got sicker than a dog. I mean, it was awful. You guys saw me on stream here last Tuesday, so at least I felt like I wasn't lying. You guys saw me dying on stream. I was blaming it on allergies, and let's just call it what it was. I had the flu all week last week. Still going to work on Thursday and Friday, and both days they're just sending me home. So I apologize. This is not me getting out of doing the live stream. I love doing this. I love being here with you guys. The numbers are still awesome, even though in the morning sometimes it's lesser than the amount of participants that we have because the regular season's not going on. But I expect a very busy week this week. I appreciate you guys bearing with me, not having literally any content Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, but we're back at it. And there's a lot of things to get to. Before we get into everything Arizona Cardinals free agent frenzy, I think today is going to be an insane day. And I appreciate my guy Aaron in the chat, Michael, who are both here this morning. Michael, due to my contributions to Locked On Phoenix Suns, it'd be tough to do shows at night. I am more of a morning guy, given the fact that I think I mentioned this on the show before. I have a day job as well where it just doesn't happen that way. I'm not going to be able to do that at the night. And honestly, I love coming on here in the morning and being the first person to react to things. I believe when the NFL season starts, I'll get insane participation because people will just be looking for someone to react to the games in the morning. Big news. I think the NFL draft will do good as well. But anyways, let's jump into it. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a lot to get into. So let's start here. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing on the stream today. Here is a very interesting thing from last week that I just didn't get to react to. I had the flu. I was sick. I didn't even have a voice for half of last week. Otherwise, I still would have done this show. It takes a lot for me not to be able to come on here and talk sports, especially with the support that I've been getting from you guys on social media, whatever it is. Follow me there at Ben Garcia Show. The Joe Thuney trade, which I feel like hasn't been talked about enough. It is a really frustrating year to have a lot of money in free agency. Cardinals have like $60 million, right? It's the first time that the Arizona Cardinals had expectations and they had real money to spend. During those years of the Bruce Arians years, they didn't necessarily have money like this to spend on anything they want in free agency. I don't really remember that in the Ken Whisenhunt years. Maybe the years where they went and got out like a Kerry Rhodes. But this feels like the very first time I've seen this team have real money to spend, being able to outbid other teams for other players' services. And it feels like this is not a great year for free agency, which is really frustrating. This feels like the first time where teams are just re-signing their free agents because just to spite the Cardinals. That's obviously not the case, but that's what it feels like. And so it's left people like me kind of frustrated because now we're in an offseason that is Milton Williams and Josh Sweat or bust. But you look at last week. This is Monty Austin-Fort's. I almost said Monty Williams. This is Monty Austin-Fort's, his time to shine for the Arizona Cardinals. This is his time to make a move, be aggressive, trade for a player, and really just put it all out there. And I feel like he has dropped the ball a little bit. And I have been one who has defended Monty Austin-Fort for a lot of reasons. He's had pretty good drafts. Last year's was not as good as the year before, but he literally hit on every single draft pick his first year. Last year it wasn't bad, but I think it was a solid draft, which is all you can really ask for from a GM, which is mostly a crapshoot of a draft. And I think he's made fine trades. I'm not upset with the re-signing of players like Baron Browning or like Zaven Collins or Budda Baker. Like, those are all fine extensions to me. And you guys know how I feel on the show. Free agency is almost always fool's gold. It almost always is. You tend to spend a ton of money and it doesn't work out all the time as effectively as you thought it was supposed to. Because in free agency, you're paying players for what they've already done, not what they're going to do for your team. So you see, like last week, it's why I'm a very big fan of the trading market. You need a guard on this team. I'm not so sure they're going to keep Will Hernandez around. I don't know. Maybe Isaiah Adams is ready to take the next leap. All of that is fine, good, and dandy. But Joe Thuney at 32 years old was staring you in the face, and he went for, what was it, a 6th-round pick? I would have given him a 4th-round pick for Joe Thuney. An all-pro guard. I don't care if he needed a contract. I would have paid him. Contracts in the NFL are not fully guaranteed. I think that was a clear misstep by the Cardinals. I didn't even know he was on the market. They stuck Joe Thuney from left guard to left tackle. And he was awesome. That doesn't happen. So that was one thing that was really frustrating to me. Monty Austin-Fort should have made the call on that. Because then you're talking about an offensive line. It's Paris Johnson Jr., Joe Thuney, either on the left guard or right guard. That's how versatile he is. Yoda Froholt, and then, of course, Isaiah Adams somewhere. And then you're really only finding out what you want to do at right tackle. There's a couple of different options, but I really like that line. Especially with a rookie offensive line coach, I just really like those options. I like banking on talent that I know is going to be very good. Rather than gambling, I'm not much of a gambler, as you can tell. I don't know how you could tell that. I'm just speaking nonsense now. But going and getting those guys is what matters to me. So I think dropping the ball on Joe Thuney last week was rough. Aaron, as well in the chat, saying it was a 4th-round pick. I'm going to be honest with you, Aaron. I would have given up a 3rd-round pick. And that's solid of a lineman who played out in tackle for some of the season and was elite there. My point still stands. I couldn't care less. I mean, you're flirting with a early day 2 pick with Joe Thuney, but I don't know what scared teams away. I don't know. Maybe there was something on an MRI that none of us know about. I don't know. So I feel like Monty has failed the first test of trading for players. But also, sometimes those things are kept in-house. So I'm not going to completely hold it against him. And I like Monty. I think Monty's going to do a fine job. And I know how much he loves his draft picks. Maybe he trusts his draft board. That's fair too. Here's the thing that worries about me, and then I'm going to give you guys a big, splashy prediction for NFL free agency for the Arizona Cardinals. There's someone out there that I think is going to end up an Arizona Cardinal that I think everyone is telling us something big is going to happen, and there's positioning in this reporter landscape, and I think that's what's going to happen. There's going to be something big happening, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to say a big name, and people are going to say, "Oh, it's nonsense." Like, okay, well, whatever. Let's talk about it. But let's talk here first. I am stuck between a rock and a hard place. The Cardinals are stuck between a rock and a hard place. As mentioned before, this is the first offseason that I can remember where they've had real money to spend. Real money. No worrying about if they're going to get outbid, maybe by one player, and we'll talk about that player in just a second. But I do want to talk about one thing. The Arizona Cardinals are in essentially a Josh Sweat and Milton Williams offseason or bust. And I've got to be honest with you, that worries me a little bit. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, both good players. Milton Williams, I believe, is 25 years old. Josh Sweat, I know, is 27 years old. So not exactly old guys that you're going after. And I like that. Milton Williams, 25 years old. He's played every single game of his career except for one game. Josh Sweat, 27 years old. That's a guy who's played every single game of his career since 2021. Oh, it looks like he's missed one game each of those games. So 3 games missed in 4 years. Whoop-de friggin' do. You guys know that sometimes players can sprain an ankle? So, I'll get to the Browning stuff in just a second here, Aaron, because I don't think that that's true at all. But let's continue here. It feels like it's an Arizona Cardinals, Josh Sweat, and Milton Williams offseason or bust. And let me just caution Cardinals fans just a little bit, because I don't think that this should sway the Cardinals away from paying gobs of money for interior and exterior lineman help on the defensive side of the ball. But I do want to warn people about Milton Williams a little bit, who I don't think got insane free agency hype until post-Super Bowl. Will those two guys fit here? Yeah, I think they will fit. And if there's anyone that knows those players, it is Jonathan Gannon. So that's the advantage the Arizona Cardinals have. But maybe we should temper our expectations just a little bit. Anything is going to be better than what the Cardinals were rushing out there on the defensive side of the ball last year. But do I think Milton Williams is Aaron Donald? Do I think he's one of those elite level interior defensive linemen? No. I don't think he's Jalen Carter. I don't think he's Aaron Donald. I don't think he's Dexter Lawrence. And you wonder why Milton Williams is such a hot free agent commodity, who's also represented by Steve Keim, by the way. And you almost feel better about Josh Sweat than you do Milton Williams. And the reasoning for that is Milton Williams played with one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. Whether it was, obviously Brandon Graham got injured, but whether it was Brandon Graham or Josh Sweat or Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, two guys that are on the same position as him. And yeah, he benefited from that. And he played well and he took advantage of his opportunities. But there is some worry to me that just going out and giving Milton Williams from the Cowboys money feels a little bit worrisome for me. It reminds me a few years ago where the Cardinals went and got Jordan Phillips, when the Cardinals went and got Jordan Phillips from the Buffalo Bills in a free agency signing. He had 9.5 sacks, his final year going to a contract year, and he went with the Cardinals and never got that many sacks in his entire career with the Cardinals. So as much as I agree with that the Arizona Cardinals need to go out and go spend money and take swings at the bat, I do worry that we're putting too much stock in two guys, in Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, that maybe they're not meant to be those guys. Good contributing role players, but I'm not going to be upset if the Cardinals don't get one of those guys. I'd rather save my pennies, be a little bit more frugal, and just get one of those guys, and Josh Sweat. If the dollar amount is right, I'd want both. But Milton Williams specifically really worries me. Played on an elite-level Eagles team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where there are stars everywhere. And he played directly behind 2 Pro Bowl and, dare I say, all-pro level defensive tackles in Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. So, yeah, as much as I want to see him in Cardinal red, there is a little bit worrisome to me that potentially he's a little bit of fool's gold. And that he could be that type of player where you spend a ton of money in free agency on him, and then it doesn't work out. So I like Milton Williams, and I hope the Cardinals get him for a good number. But there is a little bit of worrisome to me where he could be the next Jordan Phillips of this team, where they throw gobs of money at him, and he never replicates the type of production that he had on his former team. It's a little frustrating that the first time the Arizona Cardinals have money, everyone is re-signing their free agents, and the Cardinals are stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't think that there's anything Monty Austinfort can do to get the mob off his back that he's cheap. First off, it doesn't make sense to me why people would call him cheap. He has re-signed James Conner. He's re-signed Budda Baker. I know people didn't love the Baron Browning deal, but he had like an 86 pass rush grade on PFF. He's obviously very productive. The sacks weren't there, but still. So I like Monty Austinfort's ability to key in on talent and make that money to go get him. But free agency, to me, has always been about spotting one or two guys that you go and give money to, and you have done your research better than any one of those other people. Like Mac Wilson from last year. Jonathan Jones kind of didn't work out. Bilal Nichols didn't work out. Now, those were injuries. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, I hope they both end up as Cardinals. But I am a little worried about those two names. Morley, Milton Williams. Josh Sweat's a little bit more proven. But at the end of the day, if you go get Milton Williams and Josh Sweat and you sign a corner, I don't know, maybe that's DJ Reed, and you draft the defensive lineman in the draft, I'm okay with that, even if you overpay a little bit, because that defense is going to be significantly improved. All right. Let's quickly move on, guys. I have another bold prediction I want to make, but those are my kind of early free agency thoughts. Go spend money on the defensive side of the ball. Now, here's how I know that something big is coming for the Arizona Cardinals, which is why, for me, if they go and spend a bunch of money on Milton Williams and they spend a bunch of money on Josh Sweat and they go get a defensive back and they go draft someone in the draft, all that is fine and dandy. Apologies, guys. Still getting over a cold just a little bit. Well, cold, flu, whatever. I think something big is coming for the Arizona Cardinals. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that this free agency class just isn't that great. And they know they need to make significant upgrades at the pass rushing position. You guys might not like it. You guys might think I'm doing too much. But on this show, I make big predictions. But I don't just make big predictions and big bold predictions, to get my clicks up. No, I don't really care about any of that. I'm reading the tea leaves. I'm out there and I'm thinking, okay, how does this fit with the Cardinals? I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to make a trade for one of two players. One of them I think is more likely than the other one, and you're going to be surprised which one I think it is. I believe by the end of free agency, Trey Hendrickson or Micah Parsons will be an Arizona Cardinal. And here's why I think that. You see what Benjamin Albright, who also reported on PHNX Cardinals, I watched that interview where he was talking about how the Cardinals are going to significantly improve their defensive line. And here's what Benjamin Albright said. I mentioned on PHNX Sports with Bo Brock and Johnny Venerable back at the Combine that the Arizona Cardinals were going to make a significant effort to upgrade their defensive line through free agency. Get ready. Well, that's interesting. Why would he say that? I don't know. Well, what about Mike Garafolo? Veteran defensive lineman Roy Robinson Harris, who was released by Seattle this week, is visiting the Cardinals today per source. Mike Garafolo. Arizona Cardinals are intent on upgrading their defensive line over the next week. I don't think Milton Williams and Josh Sweat fit the mold for those guys to be tweeting out there early that the Cardinals are about to make a significant upgrade to their team. I don't think that's it. I think they know something that they're not allowed to put out there just yet. That's how the world works. You're an NFL reporter. You got to play by the NFL free agency rules. You can't just tweet things out as soon as you get them. I work in this business. I understand how it works. If I find out, like Raj, right? I cover the Suns for Locked On Phoenix Suns. If I figure out Kevin Durant this is awful and terrible, and God forbid this ever happened, but let's say he's got another torn Achilles, and I know it before anyone. I can't just tweet that information out. I can position things like, I'm hearing not so great news from the Phoenix Suns locker room. The Cardinals are the same way. You could just tweet out who you think someone's going to go to. And from seeing Benjamin Albright's reporting and Mike Garafolo's reporting, I think the Arizona Cardinals are poised to make a massive deal. And I think that deal is of one or two players, Trey Hendrickson and Micah Parsons. One of those two guys will be a Cardinal. And the reasoning why I think it's Micah Parsons over Trey Hendrickson is this. Micah Parsons doesn't seem like the guy who's going to take less. And you see that Myles Garrett deal that's $40 million, I think Micah Parsons is going to want to end up getting a deal similar to that. And I don't care. I'd make it happen yesterday. And my whole point is, if you could either spend a second-round pick on Trey Hendrickson, give him $35 million a year, he's 30 years old, little bit potentially past his prime, potentially, we don't know that to be sure, but you could see the tread on the tires at 30. You go get Micah Parsons at 26, 27 years old, first-round pick, and pay him gobs of money. No one would be upset with you doing that and being aggressive. And when I'm seeing Benjamin Albright report that the Cardinals are going to make a big move, when I see Mike Garafolo report the Cardinals are intent on fixing their defensive line, that's what I see. I don't think the Cardinals have their eyes just set on Milton Williams or Josh Sweat, who they could absolutely lose out on. I think they see a guy like Micah Parsons. I think they see a guy like Trey Hendrickson, and they know that they're going to have to make a deal for one of those guys. And you talk about the Cowboys being kind of cheap with their contracts recently and making players wait out. I don't think Micah Parsons is going to want to play that game. I think he's going to want a deal, and I think there's a team out there that will give him that deal. Trey Hendrickson makes sense, and I wouldn't be upset with Trey Hendrickson. Maybe they want to be a little frugal, and I get that, honestly. Second-round pick, a third-round pick, and $32 million a year for 3 years. I get it. Maybe giving all that money to one player like Micah Parsons is a little much. But if you look at what Trey Hendrickson's going to get, and you look at what Micah Parsons is going to get, and you look at what each one is going to cost you, personally to me, that just is reading the tea leaves that I think Micah Parsons is absolutely going to be that guy. So I think if I'm going to make one bold prediction by the end of free agency, potentially by the end of this week, because free agency moves fast, man, I think it's that Micah Parsons ends up an Arizona Cardinal. On Saturday night when I was prepping for this show, I thought it was either between Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, and Micah Parsons. Well, Myles Garrett obviously doesn't care about winning that much. Well, maybe he does, but $40 million is $40 million. So what are you going to do? Can't really blame the guy for that. But Micah Parsons, if I'm picking between two guys, Hendrickson and Micah, who I think will be an Arizona Cardinal, I think it's Micah Parsons. Not to say that Trey Hendrickson isn't that guy. And just to put it out there as well, I'm not a reporter. I don't want to be a reporter. I don't know something anymore that you don't know. Sometimes I'll hear things and through the grapevine because I know all these guys. All these guys are really good dudes. But people aren't just sharing that information. And in this instance, I don't know. And if I did know, I would tell you. But I don't like to get that kind of stuff wrong because it's not an opinion. At that point, you're just putting it out there as fact. This is all based on my opinion and all my thoughts. But one big free agency opinion, Micah Parsons is an Arizona Cardinal. I'm willing to die on it. I'm willing to make that stand. And I think one of those two guys, Trey Hendrickson, Micah Parsons, is an Arizona Cardinal. But if I'm laying it out there for all the reasons that I did, for all the positioning and posturing that Benjamin Albright and Mike Garafolo and other reporters are putting out there, I will take Micah Parsons as that guy to be the Arizona Cardinals' next big splash in free agency. So there it is. I'm going to have to get these shorts up soon, guys. I appreciate you guys. Free agency starts like soon, like very soon. Guys are going to be signing. Appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I apologize last week for not being here. For those of you that are here, we stream every day, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. local time. No, wait a second. Scratch that. It's daylight savings time. 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. local time, 6 a.m. Arizona time. That is when we're streaming here on YouTube. Cardinals thoughts and opinions, Suns thoughts and opinions, all Arizona sports thoughts and opinions. I appreciate you guys being here on today's show. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 6 a.m. Arizona time. Monday through Thursday. Big things going on in the free agency world. Big things going on. I cannot wait. Interact with me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Ask me what I think of this. DM me on Instagram. DM me on Twitter. Hey, what do you think of this? Hey, thanks for putting on the show. Hey, you're really handsome. Like, I'll respond to all of it. So I appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. I'll talk to you guys soon. And thanks again, guys. My guy Ivan in the chat. Good vibes. Time to put up Monty Needs to Cook. Might as well put my little chef hat on. That's what I mean by we're cooking today. So I appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning.